Democratic Congressman Khanna of California. He's a member of the Oversight Committee. Congressman, thank you so much for sharing part of your afternoon with us. You've known Elon Musk for more than a decade. You'd previously praised him, and now you've expressed concerns that he may be overstepping the Constitution. I wonder fundamentally what you think he's trying to achieve, if he's really on this quest to fix government or if he's simply manipulating it to his own ends.
Well, I think he believes that he's going to root out all of the wasteful spending from government. And that's why initially I had said if he has concrete proposals of reducing spending in the Pentagon, which is 56% of the budget, then I would work with him. But he has now crossed the line. He is stopping payments unilaterally. Congress has the power of the purse. And some of the payments that were stopped were for Medicaid. We don't want unelected officials having the power to stop veterans benefits, Medicaid, or other programs that people rely on. And what I've said is if you have really ideas for cutting government, come to Congress, show the American people, force Congress to vote on it.
He has rejected that call to come to Congress. You actually missed the first vote to subpoena him, but you've since demanded that he appear. What would you ask Elon Musk if he were to testify before Congress?
I would say, what are the proposals of where you want cuts? Why aren't you starting with the Department of Defense? You're starting with U.S. aid that's 0.1% of the federal budget. Why not start with Department of Defense that's 56% of the budget? And why not make sure that Congress is having up or down votes on these cuts? Will you guarantee that you will not stop payments to any American on Social Security, on Medicaid, on veterans benefits without the authorization and vote of Congress?
Do you think he sees Congress as simply inefficient, and what kind of safeguards or accountability might be in place to have oversight over what he's doing?
I do think he sees Congress as inefficient. I get many Americans see Congress as inefficient, but you know what's not efficient? The United States Constitution. That's what's at stake. And you can force up or down votes on Congress, have the most outlandish spending, wasteful spending that you've discovered, and force Congress to vote on it. I acknowledge that there's wasteful spending. I agree that we need to root it out, but you have to vote in Congress on it. Congress has a lot of power. They're going to need our votes to increase the debt ceiling. They're going to need our votes in terms of keeping government open, and I believe that our leaders need to demand that anything Congress authorizes and appropriates will be spent by the executive branch, because millions of Americans are relying on these benefits and services.
Largely, Republicans have supported some of these moves from Elon Musk. With Republicans in control of both chambers, is there much Democrats can do other than call on leaders in Congress to act to keep him accountable, to place safeguards and oversight on what he's doing?
Well, I have a lot of confidence actually in the courts. They haven't been good on women's rights and voting rights, but they have shown in the past that they will uphold the separation of powers. The courts rejected Donald Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election. I'm confident that the Supreme Court will affirm Congress as having the power of the purse. Our leaders, the Democrats, have the ability on the debt ceiling, where they're going to need Democratic votes, to say, fine, we will give you the votes, but you need to make sure first there's an ironclad agreement that you're going to spend the money Congress appropriates, especially when we're talking about people's Social Security, when we're talking about Medicaid funding, when we're talking about veterans benefits, when we're talking about funding for public schools in working class neighborhoods.
Have you gotten any indication of what Musk may target next?
Well, we know that he's targeted U.S. aid, and that is money that is going to prevent kids in Africa from dying from malaria and AIDS. We know that he's targeted the Department of Education, where it's funding for decent public schools in working class neighborhoods. My hope is he'll turn to the Department of Defense, where you have the vast majority of spending, and you have five primes that basically are charging billions of dollars in excess, and we'll see what he does there.
Yeah, it seemed like President Trump certainly wanted him to do that. Congressman, I want to pivot and ask you about something else that Musk tweeted that was actually echoed by Vice President Vance. The Wall Street Journal found a social media account tied to a DOGE associate that had posted numerous racist remarks, among them one that I think may hit close to home for you. He wrote, quote, "normalize Indian hate." You're, of course, the son of Indian immigrants. The staffer resigned and then was rehired, with Musk and Vance arguing that he should be forgiven for those posts. Do you forgive him, Congressman?
Well, as you know, I had an exchange back and forth with the vice president on this. It's sad to me because I was born in Philadelphia. I grew up in Bucks County, Pennsylvania in the 70s and 80s, and I never experienced that kind of explicit racism. What I said to the vice president is, okay, he's a 25-year-old kid. He's put normalize Indian hate. He's put that he wants to repeal the Civil Rights Act that Dr. King fought for on social media. If you're going to rehire him, ask him to retract those statements and apologize. I didn't think that was asking too much. I was willing to extend grace to give this young man a second chance. But the vice president sort of unloaded at me, attacked me, said that I discussed him, and he still has not answered whether this person has been rehired and whether he's going to retract those deeply offensive statements.
We'll see if they express contrition.